Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to help you master Spa in the wonderful Aston Martin Vantage LMU GT3. And my name is Gregor Schill. I'm a professional test driver and coach for the Coach Dave Academy, as also an esports driver for the BS Plus competition esports team. And without further ado, let's dive into it. So, as always, if you go for ultimate lap, you want to maximize every kph you can, and in order to do that you want to open up here the last corner as much as you can before you head onto your hot lap. So really try to bring the car completely over to the left, maximize the track so you can really open up the steering much earlier and exit the corner with a lot more speed than if you would drive the normal line. So now as the normal lap starts, we want to bring the car over on the left side as quick as we can. Try to follow already the white line here on the left side as early as you possibly can, and watch out for the 100 meter sign here on the left. Just after that, at around 80 meters, that's where we start to brake. Don't turn in too early, follow the white line quite long, and only turn in now here as you see the green part on the apex. And you want to cut as much as you can here. Open the steering as quick as you can and floor the car. And it's only possible to drive La Source, so turn 1 in that case, if you have this late entry. If you go too early into the corner, you need to do too much rotation and you will never be able to go into the power as quickly as I can. Now for Rouge and Rallium, it's just important to know how to drive it right, and then you will have no issues at all. So what you do is essentially you need to cut as much as you can here on the bottom of the hill and do all the rotation now here. So when you arrive here on the inside, you just can straight line your steering wheel and just drive over the curb. That's all you need to do, nothing more. And now for the comp, you want to bring the car on the left side here to follow the white line. And braking air this point is quite tricky if you don't know it, but if you know it, much easier. And in that regard, it's quite easy to spot. It's the start of the curb here. So when you basically are on the level of the curb, that's where you start to brake. You can go slightly even on it to maximize the entry a bit more. And then try to cut as much as you can here on the apex. Go slightly onto the power, but not too aggressive, because you don't want to understeer too early, as you need to cut here on the left side as much as you can. Just be careful with the track limit. Don't cut too much, otherwise you will just get an invalidation. And now, really important, don't think, hey, you're done with the corner and you can accelerate as much or as quick as you can and maximize the track on the exit. No, we need to compromise this corner, because we need to stay rather tight here to be able to maximize here the exit of the comp, so the right-hander here. So you want to be here even almost slightly on the left curb here, and then small lift, slightly on the brake, and then back onto full throttle and maximize the track here on the exit. As the sequence is so crucial to get right and pretty tough, let's have a look at that one in Delta. So you see, maximize the track here on the left, really hard braking initially, trail into the apex here, on the power when we arrive on the inside. And be really careful here. As I said, don't go too aggressively onto the power, because otherwise you will understeer into this direction here. And don't run here too wide here onto the right side. As you see, just the middle of the road is enough to then be able to bring the car here over to the left. And then you see it's just about of, yeah, a small lift you need to do to get through this corner. If you wouldn't do that, you would even maybe need to brake for this corner. So definitely watch for that out, but with the right line, you will see you will master this section. And now we essentially go for a really tricky hairpin, because what you need to do, you need to drive a really late apex, which really looks similar to a double apex, because you start to brake here when the curb starts, and then you go slightly into the corner, but you don't want to drive a crazy double apex here, because you still want to stay slightly off the inside. You wait, and now you go for the inside, so really late apex. You go onto the power. Be careful here, don't run too wide, because you need to bring the car still over here to the right side to basically position it onto the curb here to help the car essentially have a better entry for the downhill left-hander, no name. And then here it's just about a small braking tap to hook the front into the corner and get it into the banking. And then you wait patiently, and when you arrive at the apex here, the corner opens up, you maximize the acceleration by really going aggressively onto the power and use all the track available on the exit. For the next corner, which is called Pouin, you need to go onto the curb here to just get the ability to carry just a bit more entry speed in. And the reference point is here, the theoretic is a racing sign. So just before we pass it, we brake really gently to 40%. Trail slides into the apex and nothing more is required because you can carry quite a lot of speed into this corner in those LMU GT3 cars. And when you arrive here on the inside, you can go quite aggressively onto the power. Don't run too wide here, you want to stay quite tight here. And this is the area where you can maximize the track on the exit. Now for Piff Puff, the next corner, what you do is you bring the car as much over to the left side and you brake again just before you arrive on the curb. Trail brake into the corner. When you arrive at the apex, you can go slightly onto the power, but have in mind you don't want to run too wide here because you have a chicane. So you want to sacrifice the entry for the exit. So you want to stay here a bit more tight to then be like a bit of in the middle of the road here for the left-hander. So you have also here a nice and decent entry and exit. Be careful here, don't try to run into the gravel on the exit, will cost you a lot of lap time. And when you're now in that position, don't think, hey, you can take now a break. No, not at all, because you need to bring the car over as quick as you can onto the left side to then be able to brake just when the curb starts to around 40%, I would say. Get the car into the banking, and now don't think you can cut as much the apex as you could, for example, in Le Comp at the start of the lap. You should only take maximum here on the inside the red and yellow curb. So don't go here onto the green part, just the red and yellow one. It will basically make the car a bit more stable and it will help you to carry a bit more speed through the corner. Now on the corner exit, try to run as close as possible to the gravel. And really important, don't turn in too early, otherwise the corner will be much harder to get flat now. So rather a bit of a later turn in. Then get the inside tires into this dip here, which will help the car to pull around. You will have way less issues with track limits here on the exit. Now we head for Blanchimont, which is flat out in the GT3 cars. And what do? We try to drive here quite tight, and then we let ourselves run wide here onto the green part, and then turn in, use the track on the exit, and then we're done. Now for the bus stop, which is a really tough corner because you can lose your entire lap here, and in that you don't do that, you should listen now really good. So what you aim for here is not the 150 meter board, it's the Avis sign. And not this one, but here, the last one here on the left. And when the car is on that level, that's when you start to brake in a straight line and quite late turn in here. As you turn in now, you aim for the curb and don't try to take here the sausage. So you see just below my face cam, you have the red and yellow part again and the sausage on the right. Don't take the sausage, because if you take the sausage, it will bounce you off to the left. And as the chicane is quite tight, you need to drive in a quite much tighter left-hander than if you don't take the sausage. So just take the red and yellow curb. So the car is basically essentially like you see in the middle of the road. And then for the last part, just a small tap onto the brake. Really not hard, it's like maybe 5% or so, to get the front axle a bit loaded so you have a bit of a better bite for the corner entry. And then when you arrive here on the left side, again, don't take the sausage, just the red and yellow curb, and then you'll be fine. When you arrive there, aggressively on the power, try to open up the steering as quick as you can to help the car with the traction, maximize the track on the exit, and then you're done. So that was the lap guide around Spa. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section. Other than that, if you want to see how a quick lap looks around this track, make sure to watch the video until the end. There you'll see my teammate Jakob Ostermann do an incredible fast lap in the Aston around Spa. So, thanks for tuning in. I hope I see you in the next lap guide. Bye bye.